Hey,
Hello.
hi.
How are you
I'm
doing
so
today?
excited. It's been like what, since the fall, I think?
Yeah, pretty much. It's literally been forever.
Finally.
How have you been?
Finally. Okay, you know, still dealing with the long COVID, so it's rough.
Right.
But other than that, things are good, meeting with clients and doing all that good stuff. What about you? Are you excited to be at this full time?
Yes, finally. I'm very excited to finally be like done and be doing this like full time now, that's for sure. So I was just ready.
Yeah, yeah. Seems like you did it exactly the right way too.
Yeah, it ended
Ramp
up
up it, ramp up.
being really good with leaving at the same time of vacation stuff like that. We had vacation like planned for a while, and so like it ended up just being kind of like perfect timing.
I love it. Now you get to make your own schedule, and
Right?
which you're crazy anyway. You go on at like 3 in the morning. with,
No,
with
5. It's 5. It's not that terrible. So
it's a nightmare to me. Oh my God.
yeah,
But
no,
it's nice you do that so people in other countries can meet with you.
yeah, no, it's worked out like really well. I'm excited for it to, continue going forward. So right now I've got my availability, so on like a full week, I can handle up to 36 appointments.
Mm.
So, and then the goal is like as I continue to grow like the Narc app and YouTube and other different like streams of income and things like that, then I'll probably like pull back some on some of those. But right now, until
Hmm.
all that kind of like aligns as we're still building the business. But yeah,
That's fantastic. That's helping a lot of people.
yeah, I'm definitely really excited. It's been really cool. I've got a couple like texts and an Instagram that I've been talking to a couple people that I'm gonna see about throwing up on my story, just like people that are saying like some really like cool and like encouraging things that have actually given me like permission to post some of it. So it's kind of cool. I'm excited about that.
Oh, I like that. I like
But
that. So did you have anything in particular that I mean, I just thought we would get on here and just chat like we usually do, unless
yeah,
there's something you
no,
want to talk about specifically.
no, I don't have anything specifically. Like honestly, like it's been a whirlwind of a week. I've been trying to just keep up with everything. So like to keep like posting and all. Like I had a lot of my YouTube videos. I had those like ready before I left. So I have
Mm-hmm.
like I think 2 more. So yeah, I'm all the way up to the 12th. So all the way up to the 12th was all recorded before I left on the 26th,
Oh my God, are you
which is
kidding me?
really nice. So I didn't have to record one YouTube, but I did have to record TikToks. And there was a couple times I was like recording some day of, and you know me, I normally have like drafts and drafts. So like that was a little stressful, but it was good, But yeah, it was
Yeah.
good. We were down there for 2 weeks. So we went to Disney like 5 different days. So like it was pretty cool.
I'm happy for you. Hey, Emilu. So Ben and I used to do lives a lot, and then I started to get more long COVID symptoms because I have long COVID, and I wasn't able to like last until the end of the week when Ben usually does them. Just because I'm also trying to run my own business with clients as well and dealing with all of these symptoms. So I told Ben when he went full time and he did an earlier in the week one, I wanted to be the first person
Yep,
to go
yep.
back live with him. So we don't have we don't we basically we will take whatever you guys want to talk about. Just go ahead and throw stuff in the comments and we'll go from there and just do what
Pretty
we usually
much.
do or what we used to do, which was just talk.
Yeah, it's been cool. It's been crazy. I signed a contract last month on an office space. So I start
Oh, did you?
next month in June. I start an actual office space. So I'm considering, because there's been some thoughts thrown around. I'm considering like being able to do stuff where I could actually host like group sessions or actually do like a group meet like in person, because like I have the office space and the conference rooms that I can like do it in, which is really cool.
I used to do that before the pandemic happened.
Right.
Drew is teasing me. We're not going to talk about investing. Good Lord. All I have is an E-Trade. I don't even know what I'm doing. I have to get a financial advisor. Yeah, we are
Yeah.
talking about narcissist stuff and trauma and healing and, all that stuff. So just go ahead and toss us some questions.
I've got
Yeah.
one.
Are you getting, go
I got
ahead.
one from Restore Your Peace. Did you change your username? Restore Your Peace. I think that's Brogan. Oh yeah, it is. So
Oh,
she asked. I asked that. And she literally just said like, "Hey, it's this is who it is." But yeah, she said hardest thing for me is I still can't let go of the new relationship of 3 years and the pain. Any advice? So, again, going back to like letting go of the new relationship. I assume you mean like his relationship. You know, the relationship of like how it was versus like how it is now, like how it's transpired, how it's gone in one sense, is like letting go is really a big aspect of the story that you're telling yourself of like what's going through your head, of what's going through your mind. Is there still something that you're holding on to? Like sometimes that's hope, sometimes that's potential, sometimes that's, not wanting to admit what actually happened, different things like that. And so like with the new relationship of going on, okay, well, with his relationship, so with the new relationship going on of what's going on that side, a lot of times people struggle with the aspect of like FOMO, of like, am I missing out on something because
mm-hmm.
he's with someone else? Am I missing out on someone on something because of how he's acting, versus how he was acting with me? And the fact of the matter is you're not, but it won't come
No,
down to that until you change like your thought process, until you change your mindset, because otherwise you're going to keep thinking like, hey, maybe I was wrong, maybe it was me, maybe he's giving that person something else that he didn't give me, or something like that. And fact of the matter is not like he isn't changing, he's not going to change, because of the fact that he's not willing to be honest about who he is and what's going on.
100% agree. I mean, I think that a lot of victims turned survivors or new survivors worry about that because they think something was wrong with them or what could I have done differently or whatever. But the fact of the matter is narcissists they treated you a little worse than they treated the previous supply, and the next supply is going to get treated worse than you, and so
Hmm.
on. And that's why they take people to the same freaking honeymoon spots or the same restaurants, or they do the same trips or whatever it is. In the beginning with the new supply, they might do different things that they knew you wanted to do,
Right.
but that's not going to last. That doesn't last. Um, I think a lot of people miss the person that they thought they were with.
Hmm.
That's what they miss. As a matter of fact, I have a duet queued up with Jules right now where she does an excellent job. If you go to Hearts with Jules, it's her third pin post. What do you miss? The manipulation, the lying, the cheating, the yelling, the screaming, the door slamming. Like, what do you miss?
Hmm.
You know, the silent treatment, the financial abuse. There's really, nothing to miss. I remember every once in a while during the relationship, I would be like, wow, I'm actually feeling happy today. And then I would think to myself, no, you're not. You're not happy. You just haven't been abused in a few days.
Hmm.
That's not happiness.
Right. Yeah, no, absolutely. That totally makes sense. Yeah, a lot of times people get like the worst treatment and the worst of the situation, and like that's like all they can focus on, like after everything, because they miss what was there at the beginning. They miss
Mm-hmm.
that opportunity, that
Or
potential.
or they'll say, well, they weren't always bad. We did have some good times. And I always try to remind my clients, like, let's think about this. Was that a good time? Or was that a time that was good in between abusive incidents?
Mm. Right.
You know?
Yeah, that is very true.
So I'm sorry, I can't remember who said it, was just saying that she got into a relationship with another narcissist, but she was able to see, hey, Sin, she was able to see right away that
Hmm.
this person, like early on, and it was so much easier to get out of. And that's true because when you have educated yourself and you get into that next situation, and a lot of us did, you when you see the signs, you're like, bye,
Right.
and you don't really, it doesn't, really bother you. And then that makes it much easier to get into a healthier situation from there.
Yeah, and that's
Yeah.
really like
Well,
the
thank you for,
goal is to work on like the education so you get to the place where you see the red flags so much faster. And so you're able to assess that stuff faster in the initial part of the relationship so you can get out.
yep, 100%.
Hmm.
100%. So Cynthia's over here on my side. Hey,
Hey,
do you know how
Cynthia.
to do that thing? I guess we would have to go out of co-host, but I thought it was pretty cool when I've been seeing on lives where four people that
Oh,
they're
yeah.
sharing the scores equally.
Someone someone said that, but I don't know. I haven't. Do you have to bring someone in?
We'd probably have to go back and do it the other way. I know, I miss you too. I haven't been on a live since I was on with Ro like 2 months ago because I just not feeling well enough most of the time.
Does Sinful or Drew know how to set it up? Yes, you do. Okay, he said guest live and change grid setting. Where's the grid setting, Drew? Like, where do I find that? Because I don't remember seeing that
Do
before.
we do we have to get out of co-host
Yeah, we have to
and
go
then
back
come
in
back in as
and do
guest?
the guest. Yeah, you do a guest live and then change the grid settings. He said, I just don't know where the grid settings. Yes, I still do. I still go live once a week. So right now, my current schedule is on Wednesdays. I go live on YouTube and Facebook from 9 to 10 p.m. Eastern time with Lee. We're doing dual lives on there. And then I'm still going back. I missed last week because of vacation. But I'm still going to be back on Thursday night lives. And so that's typically 9 to 11 p.m. Eastern time. Sometimes 8:30 to 10:30, but right around that time. He said under the left live bottom.
So can we see so
Uh,
oh,
that's not
match
the one.
invitation.
Yeah, that's not
So
the one.
are we seeing the same comments now? Did they make that change? I haven't been on
No,
live in so long.
I
Okay.
have it on my other screen, and I'm watching your live
I
on
see.
my other screen.
Okay.
So that's why
I
I'm
see what's
seeing
going
his
on.
comments. So Drew, we have to go back out. Like we have to like cancel this live and start another one. Pull up the menu and click settings. Do I set that before I do the live?
I It sounds like we have to go in as like a guest as opposed to co-host.
Start as a guest. Yes. Okay.
Okay. Well, if anybody really wants to jump in, like a Cynthia or somebody wants to come in, we can do that.
So, but we need to. Do we want to cancel and start over?
Do you know if anybody wants to?
Well, no,
It
that way
has to
we
be
it
a guest.
has to be a guest. That way we could be on the same screen. We could do like the two-sided thing, but then
Okay.
we could see each other's comments.
Do you want me to come over to yours?
Sure, that's fine. Right now
Okay.
I've got more
All right.
people on my side, so we might as well.
We're all gonna hop over to Ben's at Raw Motivations, and we'll take it over there, and then maybe we'll have more people on
So I think if you leave, then I can just set up the guest right away. If not, then
right
I'll
here.
stop.
Okay.
If not, then I'll stop mine and start back. Hang
All
on,
right.
everybody.
So
We'll get
I'm
this straightened out in a second.
okay. Both live videos will continue, but separately. So I think I'm just gonna get out of here, and then I will come back in.
Okay, cool.
All right.
Let's try it.
All right. I'll see you in a sec.
Drew, come over to my side so you can answer the questions, because otherwise we might be a little lost. There you go. Multi-guest, guest requests. Now, Heather, you just need a request on mine, I think. All right. Heather, come on over. Aha. All right. So, Drew, are you over here? All right. So I got you in here.
Is Drew gonna come in,
I don't know.
or Sin, or both?
I don't see the settings he's talking about.
Hit the multi-guest box. He's saying.
Multi-guest. Oh, change your light. Okay. Got it. Okay. Fixed layout of the
Drew's
main
like our teacher. He's like our
and the
trainer.
number of participants. Switch layout. Switch. Ooh. Okay.
And then I think
Switch
there's
the
yeah,
layout.
that's the one I
Aha.
saw. How cool.
Look at that. Requests from viewers. Requests from followers only. Oh, that's smart. Look at that. That's
So,
cool.
so, so then can you like pick people? Can you click on that request or do they have to just ask?
I can click invite and then it shows viewers, which is weird. It only
Okay.
shows out of all the viewers, 43, it shows like five. Maybe it depends on like if they have so many followers, etc.
Followers.
But
This is cool. I'm so glad we did
anyway,
this because I haven't
sweet.
had a chance to try this out yet. So,
Yeah, so what I did is I clicked the multi-guest. So when I click multi-guest up at the top right-hand corner, when it pops up with multi-guest, there's a little wheel. When I click the little wheel, then it has like grid, panel, fixed layout, and you can like change stuff around. So panel is when you see the one person and then like the three, and then grid is where it shows you could have like four, which I'm wondering if you could like even change that to be even more than that because the grid looks
I
interesting.
want it. Yeah, this is
Anyways,
great.
sweet. Well, that's cool.
Thank you, Drew.
Now we can see everybody's comments. I think I can actually. Does it still work to slide? Nope, it doesn't. Oh
Yeah, I can slide.
well, there was an old way where you could slide left to right, and it would only show like comments. It was kind of cool. But I've got
Oh,
mine up.
okay.
All right, Spitfire Survivor. I saw you posted a comment on hers a little bit ago. I think you were talking about like you blocked them and something. So go ahead and throw your question back in here since we now just got our act together. We figured out what we're doing.
Learning on
So,
the go.
but this is cool. We're getting it. Drew, thanks so much. You're a lifesaver trying to figure
Yeah.
this out. Awesome. Why do I
Okay.
still question how bad he is, even though my therapist has said malignant narc slash sociopath? Brogan, are you
Oh
completely
boy.
no contact? Like, are you 100% no contact? Like, you can't see anything about him or anything like that? Because I don't know, I highly doubt that if you're struggling with it that much. But I mean, I'm not just saying you should be healed faster or farther along, but I'm just kind of curious where you're at with that. All right, so Spitfire Survivor put it in. Yeah, so I found out his TikTok name and I blocked him. Will that piss him off more? I wouldn't say necessarily more. I mean, he's probably already pissed off anyways. It's probably not going to be like gigantically more, but the idea of him not being able to reach you. I mean, with TikTok, the hard thing is you can't block all of his accounts, all the ones that they
Mm-hmm.
create. So he's just gonna make another one. So TikTok's annoying when it comes to that.
Depending on how malignant they are, like I was also with a malignant sociopath, I do know that it will cause some of them to ramp up their behavior, try to create fake accounts, all of
Hmm.
that, Google numbers. I mean, you always talk about that one app, right? To block everybody or to
Yeah, it's
block them.
you can set your phone. You can set at least iPhones. You can set it to silence like unknown callers. That's like first line of defense in one sense. That helps. And then you can also filter different phone calls based on your carrier. It's only like the big ones. So like AT&T, Verizon, T-Mobile have like their own like separate like blocker app in one sense that you can get. And then there's Robo Blocker, which is like
That's the
the
one.
the kingpin of like blockers from what I've personally worked with. Because I signed up for like the 14-day trial and literally like I couldn't get it off my phone until the 14-day trial was over. So like once you're in, you're like in, and it like does a really really good job. Because I had like Kayla try to call me, like spoofing numbers and like all that stuff like that. Oh sweet, someone said RoboKiller really helped her. That's awesome.
Awesome.
That's super cool. That's actually that's the first person that has like no, second person, but the first person on live that said like, hey, like that really helped.
So the question, do they still come back even if they have a new supply? I would say
Daily.
especially when they have a new supply. They,
Hmm.
in my experience, that is their favorite thing, triangulation. So they get the old supply to think they want them back, and if the old supply is not healed and will entertain them, or don't have them blocked, or at least super gray rock if if you need to communicate if you have kids, That's one
Hmm.
of their favorite things. Get the old supply to think that they want them back, get the new supply to think the old supply wants the narc or the sociopath back. And now they've got two other people who are jealous of each other, fighting, either directly or indirectly, causing all this chaos. They love it. So they will
Hmm.
use their old supply, not just to keep them on the shelf, but also to triangulate and to get all of this chaos and attention going on. So, like I told the one I was with, you're not ever going to talk to me again. Like, I am not going to be who your ex was. Um, just FYI. And he didn't really believe that. And yeah, so in my situation, that sociopath he's furious that he can't get in touch with
Hmm.
me. I got a PPO against him, ex parte. And yeah, and he did try to reach out to me from his work email. Like, they're so dumb sometimes, I swear. And I saved those, but I blocked the emails. And if he does it again, I'm going to file a police report. So, but yeah, they love to try to keep that old supply. It's not
Yeah.
because they miss you. It's they miss what you did for them.
Miss the
But go ahead.
control. Yeah.
The control. Is
Yeah.
Lee
No,
in here? Did
absolutely.
I hear?
Yeah. Lead mod just came in. Is what he said.
Lead my I'll let him be the lead mod today.
So, Brogan, there's a part of you that hopes he will still fulfill his promises, and I think that's what you're holding on to. Yeah, so you're holding on to potential, and the problem is that potential is going to keep you constantly in that aspect where you're never going to get healing, you're never going to grow from it. Unfortunately, like holding on to that potential and holding on to the aspect of like maybe this is going to happen, maybe he'll come through, maybe he'll change, maybe he'll understand the hurt that he caused me. Like all that's going to do is keep you longer, and you're not going
Mm-hmm.
to heal. Like that's why a lot of
Mm-hmm.
times we have to say like go no contact, because otherwise, like you're think of it this way, like you just you're riding your bike and you fell over and you skimmed your knee and you put a band-aid on it, and it needs 3 days before the wound will actually scab over and start to heal. And 70 hours into those 3 days you decide to rip the band-aid off, which rips off the scab that was starting to form to heal. And what you do is every almost 3 days, you rip that off every single time. And as a result, that wound is always there. And that feeling
Mm-hmm.
is always there. And that potential and that thought process is always there, because literally you're opening up that wound every single couple days, thinking maybe it'll be different now, not realizing that you haven't had a chance to heal.
Right. Hey Lee, do you want to jump on? Is he still in here?
I think he is.
That would be fun. We haven't done that in like a year, I think, or close to it, the three of us.
Now we can technically do four in here, it looks like.
Yeah. You get four Narc Avengers in here. Drew, you're welcome to pop on if you want to as well. Um, the thing is too, like when you are spending so much of your time and thoughts and effort into figuring out like what went wrong, what did I do wrong, why did they do this to me, like all of that,
Hmm.
you're wasting more of your time. And I don't mean that in a cruel way. I mean, like, you deserve the time, you deserve the investment. It's like when my
Hmm.
clients come to me, and you probably experience this too. Oh, so much of the time, the first 2, 3 sessions, they're like, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry that I'm trauma dumping." I'm like, "Don't say trauma dumping to me. I
Hmm.
don't believe in trauma dumping. You have held this in for a really long time. You haven't been able to talk to very many people who can actually grasp what you've been through.
Hmm.
So when you tell me, yeah, he hid my keys from me, I'm like, oh, yeah, that's what they do. And for the first time, clients are like, oh my God, you understand this, right? So it's so
Right.
important to get that all out. It's so important to talk about it all. But then at a certain point, when do you deserve that energy and that time? And that's part of what I think a lot of us are trying to do is get you through that front end into a situation where now your focus is on you and your healing as opposed to staying back there.
Hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. No, absolutely. I think that's a really good way to put it. I had a
These
thought
kids
in
are,
the middle of that I was gonna like add something to it, and then I got distracted with comments.
oh, it's okay. Wish you
um,
could grow without the damage. Yeah, I know. You come out different though. You're not trying to be the person you were before. I hear a lot of people say that, like, I wish I could just be who I was before. You're going to be different, but you're going to be stronger. You're going to
Hmm.
have much better boundaries. You're going to kick out the bad people, right? The toxic people right away, like we were talking about before. But when you're going to leave space in your life for people who bring something to your life, and you could do the
Hmm.
same for them. And it's just, the shift is really amazing. Like life on the other side really
Right.
can be phenomenal.
The thing is, when you're trying to go back to what was before, what you're trying to do is you're trying to get back to that state of feeling, that state of being in one sense. And the problem is, like, that's never going to be back. That's never going to be the same. And the thing is, like, normally when people try to get back to it, it's the same, like, the same type of cycle that I've showed in like narcissistic abuse, but it's the same type of cycle for other people as they get down to a place of like, this sucks, I don't know how to heal, and they get what's called that false lift that gets them back up to where life is normal. But the problem is, if you get back to normal life and you don't change how you respond to triggers, you don't change how it's affecting you, don't change the story that you're believing, that's keeping you locked into potential, that's keeping you locked into hope, and that's keeping you locked into going back to that person, nothing's going to change. And so a lot of times people
Mm-hmm.
are like, I wish I could get back to how I was. The thing is, if you got back to the person you were at the same time that you were then, the same exact things would happen because you didn't have the knowledge that
Mm-hmm.
you have now. And that's one thing that I, like
Mm-hmm.
when I talk with people a lot of times, dealing with the abuse, dealing with the trauma, and like working through it, there's that aspect of them realizing everything they've been through and then saying like, oh my gosh, I'm such an idiot for staying. And I'm like, wait a second, like you have to take a moment, you have to stop. Like, you weren't doing algebra when you were two, and then when you were 15, saying like, how stupid was I at two because I wasn't doing algebra? But that's what we do with like abuse and with those
Mm-hmm.
relationships. People learn about it, and then they look back and they're like, I was so stupid that I did this, when they didn't have the knowledge to know not to, you know?
Exactly. And I'm so glad you said that because Karen is saying it's so hard to get past the shame of not seeing him for what he was. And to just piggyback on what you were just saying, Ben, like these people have been practicing this their whole life, right? Like Ben has talked
Mm-hmm.
about how he used to, tell a little lie so that the big lie he wouldn't get caught when he was a kid, a small kid. Like, so they have all of this experience. They know how to manipulate people. They know how to make you believe that that mask is real, right? You didn't know what you didn't know. Now you do. Now you're learning, like Ben just said. So going forward, now you're going to be able to identify the signs in people, even if it's just, this person just makes me feel a little uncomfortable. Nothing, nothing necessarily wrong, but I don't like feeling uncomfortable. So I'm going to move on from
Mm-hmm.
this person, right?
Mm-hmm.
Friend, relationship, whatever, toxic workplace. But you couldn't know before you knew.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you are not pathetic and you do not look crazy. Don't, I just did a video on this. Don't let their toxic insults and projections, it's all projection. Don't let
Right.
that make you believe that it's you. Healthy people don't say things like that to people that they love.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I
Yeah,
get
it's very
super
true.
fired up about that. I cannot stand it when people are being made to feel that they are pathetic for loving someone.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's not on you. That's on them for treating someone loving that way. Hi, Anna. How are
Right.
you?
I love you both. I'm so grateful you guys are still on here, still talking about it. Because lately I haven't felt much about sharing that kind of stuff. 'Cause
Hmm.
it's so important, those reminders that one, they don't change. How many times, Heather, did you tell me that? He's not going to change. It's not going to change. Don't
Mm-hmm.
care what he promises you. He can promise you the moon. It doesn't change. And learning about that pattern of behavior and getting that knowledge really helped me to say, wow, it really isn't changing, and helped me to
Mm-hmm.
start making that exit plan. Um,
Yeah.
but sorry, I was also trying to read and keep up with your comments. I was like unofficial nodding down there. This
Yeah,
this
no,
layout
you're
is
absolutely
very
good.
different. So
The
I
layout
keep
is
my
very
head
different.
off.
Yeah. But no,
And when you
it's good
find
to hear from you. It's good to see you.
No.
So do you see this and then when you finally see it, you see it all. And I knew with Anna, I knew that was going to happen for you. I knew you were in that process, but you had to go through it,
Oh my gosh.
right? Because I was there
Yeah.
too. A lot of us, like, well, it's getting a little bit better. Well, it's getting better. It hasn't been bad for 2 weeks. I
Right.
hear this from my clients. It's been great for 3 weeks.
Right.
And I'm like, I know how long 3 weeks seems when you're in an abusive relationship.
Feels
Three
like
weeks is
eternity.
nothing.
No, it's
Three,
Right.
nothing. It's
we're looking for
nothing. And
3 years, 30 years, like,
yeah,
like Ben and Lee say, they're going to be in therapy the rest of their lives, you
right.
know?
And I go
I
back to
think
some of those videos sometimes where I'm like, oh, it's a good week. And it would literally take that roller coaster ride of like really good, followed by bad, followed by good. And I always like lived for those good moments, right?
mhm,
But what I hated was that I would get my hopes up knowing that they don't change and then have that rug ripped out from under me again. And it's
mhm.
starting over. And each time, though, once I had the awareness, each time I felt more stupid for
Yeah.
believing it, knowing that I knew better.
I think though that's just like what Ben was just saying, you can't learn algebra until you go through, right? Like
Yeah,
like
Mhm.
pre-algebra,
your
Um
Right.
basic math facts.
I
So,
think I think probably one of my favorite coaching sessions, and I was working with this guy for a while, and he was with narcissist, is more BPD from what the therapist was looking at and everything like that. But we don't talk about BPD. But was he was we were talking through a bunch of stuff, and it was one of those things that like at the very end of the relationship, at the very end where he starts setting boundaries, he starts saying like, "Hey, this is what's going to happen" and stuff like that. Then all of a sudden he's like everything changed. Like she's not mean to me anymore. Like she's not yelling. Like she's not
mm,
like love bombing, like future faking, like all this stuff. He's like everything changed, and we're talking through it. And we get through the place, and all of a sudden, like he had a moment where it clicked. He was
mm-hmm.
like, "Wait a second," because I was trying to tell him, I was like, "Hey, like this epiphany didn't happen overnight. Like all these things." I was like, how many times did you ask her this? How many times did you ask her to help out with this, or to not yell, or like et cetera, et cetera? And all of a sudden, it clicked, and he was like, "Whoa!" He was like, "That means if she changed all those things in one moment, that means she knew that the entire time."
The entire
exactly.
time.
And like a lot
Hey,
of
Ro,
people
you want to
don't
jump
realize that
on?
and don't think of that, you know?
Sorry, I didn't Rose in here. I just wanted to see if she wanted to jump on.
You're good. I
Yeah,
saw
that's
like a
that's
notification like someone requested, but then I clicked and I don't see anything now.
that's
I don't
the
know how
thing
many
though
people can go
that
this way.
that I, that so anybody who doesn't understand basic respect, right, for somebody else, for the person that they love, anyone who doesn't understand how to do the bare minimum, when they finally get it and they can finally do it, of course they always knew how to do it. They
Yeah.
don't do this to their so-called friends. They don't do it to their,
Hmm.
boss. They don't do it to their, flying monkey family members. So they know what they're doing. They just know who they can get away
Hmm.
with doing it to.
Yeah.
Right.
And so yeah, I'm always suspicious of an abrupt change because if everything changes, then what was going on before?
Right.
Hmm.
And you obviously already knew, like we said. So is it sustainable? No. And you know what? Honestly, I got to the point where I was like, I didn't care what he said to me. There has been too much history now. There's too many years of this atrocious abusive behavior that even if you did abruptly change now, I don't want you.
No.
I don't want to
Hmm.
be with you.
It's like
It's
when,
different than sorry, I just want to say it's different than what Ben and Lee are doing because they're sincere and self-aware. But in our situations, no, get out of here.
no.
you know.
And that was the thing versus working on himself. I remember flat out asking him, like, do you even like yourself? And he had
Hmm.
no. Um, but was he willing to do anything to work on that? His own therapy? No, because there was nothing wrong with him at all. It was
Right.
me. I was causing all the issues in the household. And you had known me long enough, Heather. You knew me when I was there and what was going on. And I'm so grateful because you kept me from thinking that I literally was losing my mind. Because
No,
I
no.
felt I was going crazy. Like, how could it all be me? Maybe it is me. And I went through those phases. But the reason I just wanted to jump on here really quick is earlier you guys were saying when I first got in here about once you notice those behaviors, you start noticing them in other people
Hmm.
and the
Hmm.
situations around you, and you start removing yourself from that. And I did that
Absolutely.
with friends, family, and
Mm-hmm.
ultimately even my job. So, like,
Mhm.
Yay.
you know,
Here's Drew.
things can change. You don't have to live
Mhm.
in that kind of situation or environment.
Mm-mm.
And if you don't know how you're going to get out, keep coming and
Get.
talking with these people and figure out a plan, because leaving, and I was telling Ro this earlier. Hi, Liv singing out of bed. I was telling Ro this earlier. My worst day out is still so much better and more peaceful than
Mm-hmm.
best day
Mhm.
in. And I stick with that. And the no contact thing, oh, that was hard, but I'm glad that I stuck to it.
Mhm.
I'm glad I stuck.
Ashley Pashley's here. So you know what you just said there. My girlfriend, because I had already gotten this house. I was buying furniture for this house. I knew like I was moving in, and I had the house for 3 months before I was able to actually move in. And the one of the last days before it was final, it was the day before that. Everybody just came, scooped me up, got my clothes and my dog, and then we were out.
Right.
While he was at work, but. She said she wrote it on a piece of paper and basically said what you just said. Your previous good days will be miles below
So,
your new bad days.
so
Mhm.
much. And
It's
Yeah.
so true.
I'm immune from bad days, and I definitely have triggers and such. It's still so much better. And
Mhm.
actually, Heather, you and I talked about that before when I was trying to plan on leaving. I don't know, is this a good
Hmm.
talk about that for a second? You
Yeah,
got
go for it.
it is tax return season. You have a
Mhm.
joint bank account with your spouse, and they are joint tax returns. Talk to your attorney first. I did.
Mhm.
But if you need to have funds set aside to leave, that is a huge chunk.
Hmm.
And yep, he
Mhm.
accused me of taking all his money, and oh, he told everybody about it. Um, and was very upset. And I think I would be upset in the opposite position too. But I needed to.
Hmm.
Mhm.
And oh my God, I was so scared that day. I was so scared. And I
I
remember
remember the video you did when you were driving away.
I could not
I
even,
did it.
it took me 3 months to put
Yeah.
the check into a bank account. It took
I
me
remember.
put it in right before I left.
Hmm.
Mhm.
Um, but I got clearance, and then it was something that we could hash out during the divorce. But
Hmm.
if you guys are that close to getting out and you're planning on your exit strategies, just be prepared to go that day
Mhm.
Hmm.
if you have to go. But I don't know. Talk
Yeah.
talk to an attorney. I got clearance from the attorney before I did anything like that. I was too.
So what I did is and I think I have a video queued up on this, but I got a new credit cards. I was working on my credit score, got myself off of all his stuff, took him off of all of mine. He had no clue because he never did anything but spend money. He never did anything about paying, bills or anything. And then I opened up my own bank account and I just started putting in half of what the actual bill, mortgage, DTE, whatever. I stopped paying for any of his stuff, put money away. So when I moved, yeah, I charged everything. I mean, I'd buy spoons, I'd buy napkins, I'd buy, you know what I mean, sheets, everything. And I charged it all, but I was lucky enough. Well, that's what an 18-month exit strategy will do for you, though. I mean, I was in it for a while planning, but it worked out. There's always ways to work it out, whether that's a shelter or doing something like Anna did or what we're talking about. There's ways to do it, but getting someone to help you is really important because there's lots of different factors. So either a trusted friend, a coach, therapist, somebody who can help you. But we
Yeah.
should let Drew say hello.
Drew,
I'm
what
sorry.
time is it there? It looks like it's like light outside. It's like dark where
Yeah,
I
it's
am.
it's 6:40. I'm in California.
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay. Okay.
California. I want to move
I
I was
there.
actually
gonna say
I
it's
actually
like
had a question
9:40
for
here. It's
Ben.
dark. Yeah,
So
man.
you
What's up?
talked, Ben. You said something earlier that that you would lie, that you told a little lie when you were a little kid to basically get away with a big lie. I kind of want to
Hmm.
touch bases on this a little bit. As a child, did you get in trouble if you told the truth? Were you like punished for telling the truth? Because oftentimes when we're kids and liars are created because when we tell the truth, we get punished for it when we have toxic parents, and then we tend to tell lies
Mhm.
instead of telling the truth. So you grow up telling lies because you know that there's consequences and you're still going to get
Hmm.
punished for it, right? So why tell the truth when you could just tell a lie and get away with it? So is
Yeah.
that something that happened in your dynamic as a kid?
Yeah, I would say to a degree. Sometimes it wasn't necessarily like outright like getting in trouble per se, but it was more or less like the outcome of it was not something that I was comfortable with. Either how long the conversation would go or the, unofficial like lecture or instruction on life or whatever it might be that would ensue from that was not something that I was emotionally safe with or like comfortable with in one sense. And so
Is it
like,
because they
you
didn't
know,
make you feel safe? Sorry for interrupting. I've got ADHD.
no, no, you're good. Not necessarily like didn't feel safe, but in my mind there was a lot of times when like that safety wasn't there, that emotional safety to be able to express those different emotions, to be able to express those different things without a lecture or, a long conversation or a telling me like how to be or how to feel or how to think.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
I was just trying to get into this with parenting because I feel like, personally, I thought I was teaching my kids boundaries, even though I tell them, to stick up for themselves and to make sure that nobody can ever tell you what you can or can't do. I noticed that in my parenting that I would gaslight my own children, and there were certain things that I would do. And I started looking at myself and I'm like, wait a minute, I think this is the kind of stuff that my parents did to me. And that's kind of how you raise people. They end up either like I talk about it. You can end up on the toxic spectrum, or you can end up like on the codependent, people pleasing spectrum, based
Mm-hmm.
off of how your parents don't, respect your boundaries and stuff like that. And if you don't feel safe, like I had mentioned, or
Mhm.
you just talked about, if you don't feel safe expressing yourself, then you grow up telling lies instead, so that you end up more on the toxic side of the spectrum. So I'm like,
Mhm.
I guess for what I'm trying to say is, I think a lot of us, when we're parenting, we have to make sure that we are respecting our kids' boundaries. We're validating their emotions and making sure that they're able to be comfortable to express themselves. Otherwise, they end up
Right.
codependent or narcissistic.
Yeah,
I
Mm-hmm.
and
feel
that's
like
like super hard, especially like, right now I have a 3-year-old, so I mean, it's super hard when, I'm trying to, follow my wife's example and I'm trying to learn myself to be able to validate her feelings. And then she like, says no and like slaps me in the face. I'm like, oh gosh, because like it's like I have to be able to like step back and be like, okay, like there's like big emotions, there's big feelings that are going on there, and I need to try to help her work through it, versus, get upset or lash back out or anything like that, and that's really difficult.
I
So, somebody's saying that they don't feel good about leaving if he's trying because he said he was going to go to therapy.
he can
I
Said he was going to and going are two different things.
you don't have to be
exactly.
like try.
That's enough.
He can still
Um,
you guys can separate and he can still try and then come back and show you that he's changed.
Yeah, like I like
and
seeing if the person tries when you take the relationship off the table.
Right.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm. The one that I was with who's diagnosed ASPD, he used to go from therapist to therapist to therapist to therapist. And I think it was like every time they were either catching on to him or he got diagnosed, he would move on to another therapist. But I do know for certain that he was diagnosed because we were in couples therapy and she took us out of it because she was realizing what
Mm.
was happening. And we signed paperwork that said that she could share with each. So that's how I found out about his diagnosis. But the minute she could diagnose him, she was a crazy effing bitch, blah, blah, blah. And then he went on to another one. 3 months later, another one. So therapy, I didn't, and I'm going to, obviously, Ben is the expert in this, but therapy is going to therapy and doing the work are two entirely different things. And
Right.
I know Ben and Lee personally, and we all talk every day. I know how hard they work. Every day they're working. So I don't know, Ben, do you want to maybe give some insight as to what that work really looks like?
Well, what I was going to mention to, I don't remember who did the comment. What I was going to mention, like to them specifically, is just like thinking about therapy, saying they're going to therapy are completely different than actually going to therapy. And even going to therapy, like you just alluded to,
Mm-hmm.
doesn't mean that anything's going to happen. You know, like for one, like you have the
Go
option of
think.
like they might go
Go
to
on.
therapy, but then how long are they going to last? Until they get pissed off, until they manipulate the therapist, or until they walk out of therapy, like how long is that actually going to last? And even then, if they do get to a place where they are aware, does that mean they're actually going to change? Because a lot of times
Mm-hmm.
just awareness doesn't mean that they're going to change. And I think a lot of times people have a misconception of like, if this person could understand who they are, could understand what's happened, could understand how I feel, et cetera, then they would do something. but that implies that they want to, or that they have the same moral standards of, hey, this is a good person, I shouldn't hurt them. Like, they don't operate that way. They don't operate on that
Mm-hmm.
same level. And a lot of times people try to put narcissists in that same level of like, I feel like I've seen a lot recently of like, why would someone like this do this to a good person? And I'm like, I get that question, but that question is not part of the equation that we're talking about. Because
Mm-hmm.
to think of that object, you have to think through the aspect of like, hey, you're implying that a good person equals that someone else has to be nice to you. That's
Mm-hmm.
some level of morals and of standards that you have, that you're expecting a narcissist who has no morals, who has no standards, who thinks they're God of the
Mm-hmm.
universe and thinks that you're an object that's meant to serve them. Like, it doesn't compute, like it doesn't
Mm-hmm.
attach. But a lot of times people try to put their thought process
Mm-hmm.
on the narcissist and be like, why aren't they understanding, why aren't they changing? They don't think the same way.
Right.
Everybody
So in
lives their
that
own reality.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
And in that regard, that's where we project onto them because we assume that everybody has the same good intentions that we do, right?
Hmm.
Not with narcissists and sociopaths. I guess what I wanted to ask, because I know how much we've talked about all of these topics, but having been here to say the therapy is not only about learning how to treat other people well, it's about being vulnerable. And I know you've talked about this. It's about being open and honest and admitting what you've done and
Hmm.
taking responsibility and accountability and then changing behavior, right? Like that's the
Right.
work.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, because you see a lot of people that jump into therapy, like, there's, great example like this past week. I can't really give much detail, but like, someone that I've been working with that has narcissistic tendencies, that they're putting in the work, they're putting in the effort. There's no change behavior from the other partner. Like, the other partner saying like, this isn't changing, this isn't happening, and then they discover something else that's been obvious, a lie, to them, a lie to me, as me working with this person as a coach. And I'm just like, all right, forget it. Like, there's no point of me trying to invest any of my time into you unless you're willing to be honest, vulnerable, and actually try to change. And I think that's one of the scariest and the hardest things from the narcissist perspective, is being honest and being vulnerable. To the place of like sitting in the middle. I think Carrie talks about it as like a I think she's at a paradox or something. But it's like the aspect of like sitting in between. Like, for me, like my exact example is the aspect of, am I the man or am I the monster? And like being able to sit in the
Mm-hmm.
middle of that, and like sitting across from my therapist one time, and she was like, maybe you're both. And I'm just like,
Mm-hmm.
what? Like, this is not cool, But she was like, being able to like sit in the middle and be like, okay, how does this actually work now? Like, who am I? Like, what do I need to work through? She's like, the majority of people that are in that specific spot where you're sitting, like in the middle, would have already like walked out the door,
Mm-hmm.
because the majority of people don't want to sit in that uncomfortable moment of like, hey, I have to actually look. And like, that's why like I hated going through this book. Like, this book
Which
sucks.
book is that?
Like
The
free.
psychopath free. Like, this
Oh,
book
yeah, I know
sucks
you
because
don't like
I got into the
that.
second chapter. I'm 3/4 of the way through, so I'm almost done. It was supposed to be in my book last month. I was supposed to be done with it by now. But like, that's why it like sucked, because I'm reading through the whole aspect of how psychopaths groom their victims, and did a like 3 YouTube videos on it. And like, I'm reading through it, I'm just like, I don't know if I can handle this, because I'm like, this is honest, this is vulnerable, and this is me reading in the book things that
It's
I've
calling
done.
calling yourself out.
Exactly. And like, I mean, Heather knows the most, because like she's in a group text that I'm in, where I was telling some people and being a little bit vulnerable, because I was like, there's an aspect that I like had to like walk away from the book. Like, I literally like got to the place where I like had to physically set down the book and like walk away for a period of time, because the fact that the stuff I was reading was like destroying my own stories in my mind of like, hey, when I did this, it wasn't out of a good intent, even after being self-aware. Like, it was still like,
Mm.
bleh.
But see right here what Ben's doing, this is that vulnerability piece. And then also when he came into our group chat and told us this, like to me, that's hard for a lot of us to do. Like I noticed this thing about myself and I want to change it and don't feel good about it. But for you to do that, that's what I mean by the work, right?
Yeah, that's the work. That's the work. That's like when I was saying this is hurting me, this behavior is hurting me, and I would try and come with so much reason or logic because I felt like I had to defend this to the death.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and the change would happen, it would be temporary. Like once they know that it's hurting you over and over, you would think if they really meant to,
Yeah.
they would make that effort to make that change, and that change would be consistent. Where like with Ben is putting in the effort week after week, day after day on this app, helping other people, trying to inform other people, holding himself accountable, being on there with Lee. And I hope that in his personal relationship, which I don't know that much about, I think your wife has been on here a couple times, but like
Right.
that you are continuing to do that and she sees that,
Mhm.
that because that's the most important person there is that she sees that you are putting in the work.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Absolutely.
let's ask this question. What I'm going to ask it, and I want to give my take on it real quick. But what does changed behavior look like, right? So for me, Heather, I think you saw me comment this before when I talked about the three C's. It's
Mm-hmm.
communication, comprehension, and compromise, right? You want to be able to communicate your feelings with somebody, and you want to be able to tell them what is wrong, and it's up to them to understand your feelings. Like, okay, I understand why you feel this way. And the compromise is you work towards a solution together, or they work towards a solution, whatever the issue is, right? Change behavior isn't buying you shit, holding the door open for you.
Mm-hmm.
It's none of that superficial physical shit. It's internal. It's emotions. How can this person validate my emotions? And a lot of people forget to look at that aspect, right?
Mhm.
So it's kind
Mm-hmm.
of that's what I look for towards people. Like if I'm expressing something, do you understand what I'm trying to say? Do you understand where I'm coming from and why I feel the way I feel? Okay, cool. Well, let's compromise now. You have to be able to do the three to have changed behavior altogether. If not, then it's just manipulation, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm. And I love that post that you did, and that's why I added also just because I have it in my life now, in my relationship with my fiance is also the consistency and the calmness is part of that, right? So like meaning if we have to have a discussion, it remains calm. There's no yelling, there's no shouting, there's no name calling, there's no, aggression, right? And I know that he's consistent in his behavior so that when we do communicate, I know I can communicate. Does that make sense? It's like I
Mhm.
love, and I just also like alliteration, but I love that whole C's thing. And I think you should do more videos on that, Drew, because it's super important. I think holding my hand and opening the door for me today because you were calling me an effing psycho yesterday has not changed behavior,
Yeah.
right? So
Right.
yeah, I think it's such a strong message.
If the other
Right now we
person
Yeah,
got
and
doesn't
the
five C's
compromise,
because we added consistency and calmness. So
It was
yeah,
it's that consistency. Like for me, for example, the silent treatment,
mm-hmm.
hours, days, weeks, right? You
mhm.
get the silent.
you're mute.
Nope. You're giving us the silent treatment right now.
She's stonewalling us.
You're
Yeah,
There,
you're
yeah.
still
I
the
had an incoming call.
person does.
There we go.
Yeah, sorry. Audio's back. It's an incoming call. But the silent treatment that could last for hours, days, and weeks. So if he was pissed,
Hmm.
cool. Communicate that with me that you're upset and you need a timeout.
Hmm.
That would be helpful. Those kind of things. That's the kind
Hmm.
of behavior that I reference when I think about change behavior because that was relative to my situation.
And this is we speak about
Hmm.
this in all relationships, not because a lot of people, not everybody's narcissist. They're not everybody meets criteria for any of the cluster Bs. It could just be somebody who just really has unhealthy habits, and then again, if they don't change, somebody asks, what if they don't compromise? Then you ask yourself the question, is this relationship for me? Do I want to continue
Hmm.
this? Is this something I want to
Hmm.
live the rest of my life out? Because you can only go so long and give somebody a sufficient amount of time. Like, hey, you know what? You had this long to change your behavior. You're not doing it anymore. I don't owe you that time. I don't owe you me anymore. You go
That's
out,
right.
you go change your stuff on your own. I'm going to go live my life now.
Yeah.
And
You know what?
So
You know
like I
what
think
was
a part
my.
of
Oh,
if you stay
Ben.
arguing compromising your own value? Do you know what I mean? At what point are you compromising those things that you want for yourself?
Mm-hmm. I was just going to add
My
real
quick
quick.
catchphrase that
I
I kind of
saw.
throw about sometimes is the
Go
idea
ahead.
of like honest vulnerability and consistent change. That's the one that I like. You probably heard me say
I
like
like
this one
that.
I throw around
Mm-hmm.
because I'm gonna touch base on kind of like Drew's question and he answered himself at the same time. But with the three C's, because like part of that is from my perspective, those three C's can also be manipulated. Like I did a
Mm-hmm.
video just the other day about communication where the narcissist or, anyone like that can set up, like cheaters in general can set up consistent communication
Oh, I
of
saw that one.
like
That was
that
good.
of that communication being like so much like, hey, leaving work, hey, coming home, and like that communication seems like, it's being accountable or seems like it's being there. And then like sometimes you have narcissists that will compromise in certain ways if it means they get something out of it. If they know like, hey, if I say, I'm sorry you feel that way, the other person's going to think it's apology. I gain 2 more weeks on my
100%.
extension before the person kicks me out,
Mm-hmm.
like
Right.
that kind of an idea. And then with the comprehension, like the one thing that I think on like the manipulative side is the idea of when you think of a narcissist, a psychopath, someone who is setting you up at the very beginning, there's an
Mm-hmm.
aspect that they have a lot of comprehension at the first beginning because a lot of times, especially like smart ones, they're a giant sponge and they're figuring out all your vulnerabilities, all your inconsistencies, all the things that you're working through that they can come in and either use those to be able to destroy you later or use those to twist it
Mm-hmm.
around and be the hero in your life so that you still stay stuck.
Yeah. When
Mm-hmm.
Not to
Ben's
bash on your three C's because I think your three C's are
when
awesome, but I wanted to show like a flip side of it too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and Ben says it that way. I've been able to go back in like my Facebook history and look at old comments that he left. And it was very specific to he was studying me. He knew me better than I knew
Mm-hmm.
myself. Like things that didn't click for a light bulb moment for me until Heather told me about malignant covert narcissism.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm. And then you were like, oh.
that makes sense
Mm-hmm.
because yeah, that was the change behavior from him in what you're talking about, but it was not for the best.
Yeah.
But
I
I'm
want.
going to go. I just wanted to pop on and say hi, but I'll still watch. I'm going to run to Home Depot. I got a Home Depot date.
That's
Love
fine.
you.
Thanks.
Love you guys
Good to
too.
see you.
Thanks for keep sharing. Bye.
See ya.
Bye. So what Drew was saying, I just wanted to hop on because I saw a TikTok. This is like a few months ago. And even with all the work that I've done in therapy and the fact that I help people get out of these relationships, the way this was phrased what made me go, oh my God. And like I was raised with a malignant, narcissist, grandiose mother and a sociopathic father, right? So you could just imagine like where my thought patterns come from and always people pleasing, always trying to fix things, always trying to, like you said, if you invest in me, now I have to stay, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because you are putting in the time. So now I'm required to. And hopping on to what you said, Drew, this TikTok was like, basically, did you know that you don't ever have to stay in any relationship ever? That you never ever have to fix any relationship? You get to choose if you want to, but you are not required to. And I don't know why that blew my mind so much, but it did. And I was like, maybe it's just the phrasing of that. But like giving your permission to say, this person just isn't serving me. Maybe they're not even a toxic person, but it's just not working out. They're not really contributing anything to your life or vice versa. You don't have
Mm-hmm.
to stay, but especially if it's somebody who's been abusing you,
Yeah.
especially if you don't have to stay in your abusive parents' lives. You don't have to stay
Yeah.
in a relationship with a partner who is finally going to therapy, but you've finally had enough. You don't have to stay, you know?
Mm-hmm.
It
So,
just,
yeah, I completely agree. I wanted to address Ben's the three C's and how it could be manipulated. So we know anything can be manipulated. It doesn't matter how good you are, right? Or how good of a communicator you are. That's where your boundaries come in, though. That's why it's
For
important that
sure.
we establish our boundaries, because
mm-hmm,
how many times are you going to tell somebody the same thing over and over? If they keep making the same mistake, it becomes manipulation, right? Then
Mm-hmm.
that's when you're like, no, I told you this before. You didn't respect me the first time. You didn't respect me the second time. There's not going to be a fucking third. you're out.
Right.
That's why it's important that you learn that self-love, because somebody can manipulate you on the same subject, but if they don't do it again, then they're actually showing change behavior. So the communication part is communicating how you feel about a situation, right? And then the comprehension part is, are they understanding and are they making active change? Can they fake it in the moment? Yeah, they can fake it in the moment, but if they do it again, that's giving you a sign that they don't respect you.
Right. It's
You know,
not gonna
that's why
last.
it's important. Yeah, you have that boundary there for a reason, but you have that communication aspect. And I feel like you should have those communication aspects in all your relationships, not just toxic, because how else do you ever expect to get over a hill on anything? You know, like even your friendships, you can have the 3 C's with your
Yep.
friendships.
Mm-hmm.
I had to cut somebody off recently
100%.
because they kept disrespecting themselves, and it wasn't towards me. And I'm like, I don't like that behavior. I don't want to align myself with somebody who talks about, you know, wanting booty calls to be a booty call, and I don't want to align myself with somebody who uses who is staying with their ex purposely to get money out of him at the sacrifice of her own emotional abuse. I mean, emotional sanity. And I'm like, that's not I don't want to associate myself. And she goes, oh, I understand. And then she tried to make it about herself, or she tried to turn it on me to say, it seems like if something doesn't go your way, you walk away or you don't want it. It's like, no, that's not exactly what it is. I know what you're trying to do here, because I knew she was trying to make me feel bad for walking away from it. And I was like, it's not about me, you not having the same thought process as me. It's the fact that I don't want to align myself with that behavior.
It's a
So
values
that's very
thing.
true.
Yeah.
That's that portion of that like thinking is kind of what got me to the place that I ended up in my mind getting to the place and then finally doing it, of cutting off and blocking the girl that, you know, I was with for a period of time that had BPD. You know, because I had to get to the place where I was like, hey, like even if there was ever a potential of a friendship to work out, like I can't allow that because of how you're living your life, because of the things that you have actively in your life that is going to suck me back to that lifestyle that I know is going to continue driving me down into that black hole.
Or even people who are just in general not positive. Like I cut out everybody I used to work with. I couldn't believe that after our office closed 4 years ago, they're still gossiping about each other. I was just like, I'm done with this. Like what? Like I have made all new friends. Like all of you, you know, have all these wonderful followers and clients and colleagues, and you know, and my fiance. I don't want to stay where I was. You know what I mean? And like people the way I think about it, like if you are happy and you've done the work and you're happy, that's great. If you're willing to grow and come along with, let's do that together. But if you're going to stay where you were in those same thought processes, like you're talking about these toxic thought processes, then you get to do that. But I'm not going to be there with you, right?
Right.
It's really powerful. And I don't think that's you just walking away from people randomly.
It was interesting because I still have like all those texts and everything of like me saying that, and you know the other person turned around and being like, you know, yeah, well, yeah, I knew you were gonna give up on me. I knew you were gonna leave me at my lowest. I knew you were gonna like all the stuff. Like I still have like all those texts, and it's like crazy because like it's just like very like textbook of like, you know, oh well, you're doing this now. You know, I thought you actually
You
cared.
played the
I guess you
victim.
never cared. Like everything like that.
You were the victim in that story, yeah.
Yeah,
you're talking about the one with BPD, right?
Yeah, that was pretty crazy. I mean, that one's the one that I connect with a lot of people with on like the aspect of like trauma bond and stuff like that, because that was 10 months of it being out and in the open before I was able to like cut her off.
Yeah, I know that one. Yeah, well, and that's probably why it was the hardest one, is because you were trauma bonded. Like you said, you were dealing with somebody who was treating you very similar to how, you know, it's just, so that's like, yeah.
You get
Ro, do you want
addicted
to
to the
jump
highs and lows.
Yeah.
Very true.
Did Ro ever say if she wanted to cop on or not? Because I see her in here moderating.
I don't know. I'm gonna need to get off though, because I said 9 to 10.
Oh, you're right. Gosh, that went fast.
I know, it went really fast. But yeah, no, I'm still trying to figure out my live schedule. I know I'm doing my Wednesdays 9 to 10, and I know I'm doing Thursdays like 9 to 11 or 8:30 to 10:30, but typically 9 to 11. But then I haven't figured out, I'm either going to be doing Tuesdays or I might be doing Mondays instead of Tuesdays. I'm not sure yet.
Are th-
So
are they all at night, or are they any earlier?
right now they're all at night because I have to keep the day free for appointments, especially right now that this is like my only job. It feels
Mm-hmm.
weird now that I'm like
Mm-hmm.
officially doing this like full time kind of a thing. But yeah, like eventually I'm gonna be doing some like during the day and things like that. I've got a couple things like coming on the pipe where I'm either gonna have a separate live on Monday nights or and then maybe even a Zoom call either Monday afternoons or Sunday afternoons with people that are on the Narc app. Just some
Oh.
exclusives that I'm trying to do where like they can actually be like, we're gonna do like weekly like live. We're gonna do like weekly lives that are like unlisted, so like not everybody can jump in them, only people that are on the app. And then I'm also gonna do like monthly like Zoom calls where it's just gonna be just with those people, just to help build that community as well.
That's awesome. I love it. I got to talk to you about that because I want to start doing some of that Zoom stuff too. I have to get with Lisa, but Drew, I'm so happy to be able to hang out with you too. Anytime I see you on live, I try to jump in there, but this has been really fun. I
Thanks for
love
helping
this
us figure this
format.
whole quad thing out.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah. Yeah, we definitely should do this again. Do you all ever just like randomly go live? Because sometimes I'll do, like, I haven't in a long time, but sometimes I'll do that. Like, I feel okay and I have some time. Like, is that how you normally do it,
I
Drew?
have
Or,
I have mine set every Sunday with Elena. Elena's
yeah.
the licensed
Hmm.
therapist. Yeah, I always go Sunday 1 p.m. Pacific time with her. But randomly throughout the week, it's just random.
It's just random. I
Yeah.
wonder if a mix works best. Like, if you have some time set up that people can anticipate, and then other times you're just like, hello, you know,
Mhm.
night row, love you.
Yeah, like I know I'm gonna have like scheduled ones, so I'm thinking right now it just really depends, but I'm thinking I'm gonna do
Hey, SJ.
two different ones on Monday. Like I think I'm gonna do like an 8:30 to 9:30 and maybe have that be
Mm-hmm.
like this where like with multiple people and then the 9:30 to 10:30 be like app exclusive kind of a thing. And then I'll still do
Mm-hmm.
Wednesday night with Lee and then Thursday night just with myself kind of a thing on
Mm-hmm.
like the different platforms and all. But then like as I get going, I know I've had a couple times where I've gone live randomly, like sometimes in the afternoon or like if I have a client cancel, sometimes that. I know I did that once a while back where if someone canceled on like a Saturday morning, so I went. It was either Saturday or Friday morning. I went live at like 6 a.m. and like there was actually like 60,
My-
70
I
people
know.
like on. I was surprised, but it was like everybody from across the pond, that was up at that time of day or night or whatever it was. So,
Yeah,
but
I caught your live with Catherine. Was it a week ago? Oh man, I love Catherine. She's one of my good
yeah,
friends.
yeah, no, she's awesome.
This is fun. Well, we'll definitely have to do it again, and I'll hop off since I know you have to go. But thank you to everybody who stayed with us and hung out and asked
Yeah,
questions. So this is really great.
you're good.
Um,
Well, we'll do
if
more
you,
of them coming up once I figure out my concrete schedule. At least it's either gonna be Monday or Tuesday. I just don't know for sure. But
I'll take Monday or Tuesday, please. I
okay,
need early in the week.
sounds good.
All right, you guys.
Sounds good.
Catch you guys later.
All right.
All
All
right,
right. Talk to y'all later.
y'all
Bye
take care. Have a
bye.
good night. See ya.